Roblox lacks any MMORPG games on the platform, and as of right now, currently I only know 2 MMORPG like games in development, and one of them has disappeared off the face of the earth. Honestly, what happened to Emblem Tales? I'm gonna name him. Where is it? And the other one, as we know, is Devas of Creation, and Devas is actually meant to come out next month, I believe. Sometime within September, this game is coming out free to play for the public. Unfortunately for the mobile players, Devas won't be coming out for mobile until a later update, but it will be free to play on PC for everyone else. However, a lot of you guys haven't actually got to experience this MMORPG like game, and I have. So we're going to be delving into the world of Devas, but I don't just want to show you guys raw gameplay. I kind of want to break apart things I noticed about the game and speak about them. So let's honestly get straight into the video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's check out Devas of Creation. Now once you get into Devas, you are faced with character customization. However, this character customization is a little bit important because here you pick your faction and you pick your race, and depending on your starting race will depend on your starting stat points. So different races kind of have different stats, and those will be important factors onto what class you end up maining in this game. Now in this game you can switch between different weapons / classes as you choose, something similar to how New World plays. So as long as you have the weapon in your inventory, you can kind of focus your stat points and attribution points to that specific weapon and its scalings. However, if you have a different weapon, you can switch between those frequently or whenever you would like, and you can have 2 weapons on you at the same time. But if you have other weapons in your inventory, you can also switch both the weapons you have on you out as much as you please. But we'll delve into weapons later. After you pick your race and customize your character a bit, you're thrown into the tutorial. And yes, this game has a tutorial, so those of you guys that complain so much about games not having tutorials, don't have to worry. That means this is a good game, right? It's a tutorial. And this tutorial teaches you how to use the UI, how to use the game's mechanics, jumping, locking on, and you even get to fight a boss to see what parrying in the game is like. In this game, parrying isn't that important, and obviously you can block, which you'll be using more of than the parry mechanic in my opinion. It just doesn't parry, it's not a parry based game, so parrying isn't that important in my opinion at least. And then once you're done with the tutorial, you honestly just get thrown into the world. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to play a lot of the game. I only played for about 4 hours, and I spent a lot of the 4 hours just doing what the heck I wanted. So it wasn't a lot of progressing, you know? But this is a RPG game, I'm not gonna lie to you. Most of your early games gonna consist of doing different mainline quests or story quests that progresses you not only through the story, but kind of through the game. Most RPG games, you'll do quests that take you from one area to another to a different area, and you're really just going through the mainline quests that progress you through the game. And this game is no different to that. When you usually hop in an RPG game, the start quests really just show you the functionalities of the game, how the UI works, finding and defeating early game mobs, gathering materials from their bodies or gathering items that drop from their bodies, fetch quest and gather quest where you gotta like chop down trees or mine ores, etc, something along those lines. The boring stuff, gathering materials. However, they use materials in this game to then show you how to use the crafting system, which is essentially you crafting armors and weapons. And there's actually quite a bit of armors and weapons in this game, so gathering materials is going to be of significance, which I like. And obviously the more you upgrade and craft materials and weapons, your crafting level goes up, because there is like professions in this game as well. So those will be important as you get stronger and want to craft stronger weapons and items. You're going to need to get your smithing level up to increase your chance of successfully crafting those items, because crafting items does have a success rate or success percentage. Same thing. Now, how does the game's PvE feel? The game's PvE is actually pretty decent. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it's nothing crazy, but it gets the job done. It's entertaining to a certain degree. Along with that, there are a bunch of different weapons. I'm pretty sure there is different types of staff. So you have fire and ice staff or something along those lines. You have daggers, and you have your swords / great swords, and then you have your archer bows, etc. So there's like 5 or 6 different types of weapons, and then there's different variations of those weapon classes, and those weapon classes have a sort of progression tree where you can unlock different skills with them, and as you use them you gain weapon mastery, which you're obviously going to be using to unlock new skills, etc. Now, what I did notice, I don't know how true this is because I haven't used all the weapons, it kind of looks like you universally use all the skills for every single type of weapon, which kind of annoys me. Now, one thing I'm a big fan of is obviously getting cooler and stronger weapons. Now, if the weapon, the dagger I have at level 1 and the legendary dagger I have at level 100, let's say, have the exact same movesets, I am going to be annoyed. I'm going to get annoyed. That kind of ruins the whole weapon progression thing, in my opinion at least, because why is my legendary dagger and my level 1 dagger have the exact same moves? Now, from what I can remember, there isn't a critical strike in the game. Most weapons in most games will have a crit or a heavy attack, and usually those are unique not only just for the different weapons but for different weapon types. But I'm very sure there isn't a crit or a heavy attack, so that is irrelevant to this conversation. So back to the skills, I had 2 different types of daggers and they had the exact same skill thing or skill tree, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I don't enjoy using essentially the same skills throughout the whole game. That's not fun in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong about this. Maybe higher tier or legendary weapons have a different type of skill set, but from what I peeped, it doesn't change. Obviously, you're not going to have all the weapon skills unlocked at level 1, but by the time you're about level 50 or so, probably higher, you're going to have every single weapon ability for, let's say, dagger unlocked. And if I'm using the same weapon abilities for every time I get a new dagger, that is kind of unentertaining. So honestly, the only purpose of getting new weapons or getting new weapons within that weapon tree, or should I just say getting new daggers for this instance, would be to scale my damage higher, my M1 damage. And yes, obviously scaling your M1 damage is important, but I don't know, as a dagger main or just as a weapon main, I would enjoy having different abilities associated with different blades. No 2 blades should have the same abilities, especially if my legendary dagger has the exact same abilities that I was using with my level 1 dagger. That is very unentertaining to me. I had to get that one out there because I genuinely don't like that. Now, I don't know how big of a feature this is, but if it's like this, I don't know, but maybe there needs to be a change. Now, in terms of progression, stuff like EXP distribution, I really like the EXP distribution. As in, if I'm doing a quest and it tells me to defeat some mobs, not only do I get the EXP from completing the quest, as I'm defeating the mobs, I actually gain a good percentage of EXP as I defeat the mobs. What a lot of games or RPG games I've played on Roblox lack is a good EXP distribution. For example, certain games in development I've played and certain games already on the platform, when you defeat a mob in the overworld, it will give you like 0.01 EXP increase. And that's honestly terrible. It's terrible EXP scaling, which means if you wanted to farm mobs for, let's say, gathering materials, or you're trying to get a drop that a mob has, if you're continuously farming them, you're not actually making any progression. You're just kind of mindlessly farming and kind of wasting time. However, in this game, if you had to do something like that, you are actually going to be progressing quite significantly, because you're defeating a mob and you're gaining like 1, sometimes 2, depending on the mob's EXP scale and your level. Sometimes you may even gain 3 to 5% of your EXP just farming that same mob over and over, which is actually pretty good, because if you gotta farm a bunch of them to get a drop, you're gonna either level eventually or gain a good amount of EXP by the time you get the materials that you do need in order to move on. So pairing that with the EXP you get at the end of doing a quest is honestly going to help you level faster. Now, the issue of games with bad EXP distribution or EXP scaling, especially when you have to defeat mobs that don't have quests, is eventually in those games you do run out of quests to do. Sometimes quests are one time only, they're not daily, etc. Eventually you usually tend to run out of quests to do, and you end up kind of stuck unless you have a bunch of side quests you can refer back to, etc. And once you run out of quests, there's really nothing else to do. However, in Devas, what I really like is you don't have to rely only on doing a quest. You can go defeat a boss and know that boss is going to give you a significant amount of EXP once defeated, so you have a reason to continuously farm bosses outside of repeating the same quest over and over. And on top of that, you can still kill overworld mobs and have a reason to do that other than just gathering materials. You can be farming it for EXP. So I really like that, and I really appreciate the Devas of Creation developers for paying attention to the small details, because Roblox developers most definitely skip out on that when creating RPG games. Before we get onto the PvP topic, because I know you guys want to see PvP, I'm just gonna let that clip play. Let's talk about the player marketplace, which I'm super excited for. I think the player marketplace is going to be really nice. Now, depending on how crazy people get in this game, it can be pretty self-sustaining, the player economy. Now, I'm not too sure if this game has enchants or scrolls that help make your weapons stronger. However, if the game does have stuff like that, the player marketplace is going to be crazy. Now, I do know some games have things like scrolls, and these scrolls make weapons stronger, obviously, but there are legendary scrolls in most RPG games where it significantly boosts the damage output of the weapon, but there is a chance of it failing, and at that chance of the scroll failing, it also has a chance or guarantees the weapon getting destroyed. And obviously sometimes you can scroll your weapon up to 4 or 5 times. So let's say you get a perfect 5 times scrolling on a weapon and it didn't get destroyed. That weapon's automatically one of the strongest weapons, rarest, and most legendary weapons in the game, and you can put that up on the marketplace for God knows how much, or you can keep the weapon for yourself. But just stuff like that, making your character really strong, people will know, whoa, this guy's damage output is pretty crazy. Let me see your weapon, let me see the scaling. Boom, you see it? Wow, you managed to max enchant your weapon out. Or when that player gets tired, they want to put it up for a lot of money, etc. People are going to be bidding for that weapon. So the player marketplace is going to be super interesting to see how players take advantage and make use of setting weapons at their own price. And from what it looks like it may be global, so it won't matter what server you're in, you can access the player marketplace and see weapons that you may want to purchase without actually being in the same server. Super curious to see how that unfolds and how that unveils. And finally, let's talk about the PvP before we wrap this up. Now, I am going to let the clip play after I speak, but haven't really experienced the PvP too much. I just got into a little altercation. What I will say is PvP is going to be really dependent on the scaling of how strong you are. I have fought someone, or I got bullied by someone that was 10 times stronger than me, and he damn near one-shot me every time. Then I had an equal fight with someone else where I beat him, but it looked like his abilities weren't really reaching me, so it's quite easy to dodge long range abilities. So I don't know, PvP, haven't experienced enough about it to give a genuine opinion on it, but it looks quite interesting. It looks a bit unbalanced. I won't lie, it looks a bit unbalanced. But yeah, I'm just gonna let this clip play so you guys can get an idea of PvP for yourselves after. So yeah, my final thoughts and opinion on Devas of Creation. Obviously, I haven't progressed enough to have a complete opinion. It's a flawed opinion at that. So far, I do like the game. There are a lot of things I would like to improve on, especially in terms of weapon progression. I'm not happy with the weapon progression in the game from what I've seen so far. Then again, my thoughts or my take could be wrong, but I'm very sure it's not. Again, I haven't actually gotten to experience a lot of weapons as well, so I'm not gonna lie to you, yeah, not all the way there. One thing I didn't talk about in the video is attributes and how they attain to your stats and how they grow your stats. The only reason I didn't talk about it is because I don't know enough about it. But from what I've seen and what I've played, the dexterity stat is pretty useless in the game, and I don't think the devs scaled it right. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I don't know. We'll cover that another day. But yeah, the dexterity stat's pretty useless. Pretty useless, so you guys might want to stay clear of it, regardless of what weapon or what class you try to create in the game. But yeah, other than that, I like the game. I do like the game. I will be playing it on release, obviously, to see what the game has in store for us. Do want to progress more, do want to actually fight some bosses, because I haven't got to fight any boss in the game yet. But yeah, pretty solid game, I'll give it like a 7 out of 10 on my meter, and yeah, so far from what I've played so far, a cool little 7 out of 10. But yeah, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Love and appreciate y'all. Peace.